Welcome back. So I will call the WeGo Public Transit Board meeting to order, and first on our agenda is the approval of the August 23rd, 2018 minutes.
Move the adoption of the minutes.
There is a
Second.
2 seconds. I don't know who won that one, and I'm scared to call it. So some people get a little overzealous. So let's stand down. So that's the second. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda, we have public comments, and I think we all sort of are aware of public comments. We provide 3 minutes. I'll call your name, and you come on up, and we'll hear your comments. And first is Darius Knight.
Round of applause.
Good afternoon, Darius.
He's already a celebrity. That's right.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
My public comments today are first going to be about the way that the drivers actually write the buses up. I feel like within the next year, at least giving you guys to 2020, there needs to be a better way for the departments to handle the way that the drivers are writing the buses up, because a lot of the drivers feel like they're writing buses up and it's being ignored by the staff that normally would, pull the buses into the garage and correct whatever issues, which ultimately leads to situations where some of these issues are serious, and the drivers feel like, well, you know what, we're just not going to follow the rules and regulations in which WeGo has, which is they are to write up the bus. So a lot of the drivers are refusing to write it up after they're noticing they keep writing up the same bus and it's not being corrected. The other issues I've kind of talked to staff about is the ambient color on the display signs and the actual display signs themselves. I don't know what's going on with the new signs, and this is affecting the 1700 vehicles and the 1800 vehicles. Basically, a lot of people are complaining that they're having visual issues, I guess, with the ambient color itself. And basically my suggestion to staff is why don't we actually change the color to white? Currently, a multitude of our bus routes are multiple different colors, red, green, yellow, I mean, you name it. But I feel like at this point, if they were to move to white, that's actually going to match the actual WeGo vehicles, because the color is purple, white, gray, black, and there is no orange ambient color at all. So I feel like that would probably be a better fit. MARTA and Atlanta also uses the white color as well for their vehicles. So if you guys wanted to see that, I'm pretty sure you can pull it up on YouTube, watch a video or two. The other issues are going to pertain to cleaning the buses. Still having issues there. I'm seeing quite a few of the new WeGo buses in terrible condition. As far as trash, like, I don't know whose responsibility it is to clean these buses, but they're literally not doing it. The bus I came here on was 1813 on the route number 10. Somebody took a marker and wrote all over the back part of it. So it's like ink on the actual seat, and it's actual ink on the window, and then like on the backboard by the actual back door, you can actually visibly see this. My other suggestion to staff was the floor should not be a light gray, it needs to be a dark gray. Because once the bus has been in use for a while, it looks pretty bad, considering that there's only so much you can actually clean up, and some of these marks, that's not something that they can actually get up by cleaning it. It's just going to be marked up. And pretty much my last issue is going to pertain to the WeGo Central. The first level makes me think of Greyhound. It's two-toned as an actual Greyhound bus, and I'm quite confused. I thought the direction was to go in the colors of WeGo, which is the purple, gray, and white, and black, and I'm just not seeing that. And so I would suggest that at some point you guys take a look at that to make sure that everything is going to be in line with your actual theming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Appreciate it.
I'd like to put him on
Mr.
payroll.
Bull.
All right.
No, I'm not partisan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bull.
Good to be here.
Good to see
I'm a
you.
frequent rider, y'all know that. I've got a couple items. One, good to see the day pass usage is up sharply. That's, yeah. And two, if you could tweak the scheduling, and y'all squeeze the dime pretty well here, so that you could work in one more shift past, say, the last bus leaving at 11:15 from the bus terminal on weekdays, for example. I think that'd really be helpful for people working, say, in the hospitals or night work and so forth. And I'm really impressed the way y'all are tap dancing with the grants. That's just whatever works. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bull. Good to see you. Keep riding.
Right.
Mr. O'Connor.
Hello.
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 Good afternoon.
Again. I want to say I have to admit that I prefer to come here than I would go to the Metro Center. Although it's only a couple minutes walk from the bus stop, but at least this room is much more bigger and can accommodate us a little bit more comfortably. Anyway, just to give down a list of the usual things that I want to pester you about. Again, we need a longer bus service, to run much longer to accommodate those people who would like to be able to get out, especially on the weekends, because it's ridiculous that buses quit early on the weekends when people want to be able to get out. And but they can't go out. They can go out, but they can't get home if they want to stay out late. And then, of course, people who work late can't get home because there's no buses running. So also we need, again, customer service to be open from the moment that the first bus leaves MCC to the time that the last bus completes its run. Okay? Because so long as the buses are going to be running, then people are going to be out there needing customer service, for whatever reason it might be. Bus drivers need to learn customer service a little bit more, because I run into a situation which I reported, a bus driver being very, very rude, siding with a couple of the riders that have no clue what's going on. Okay. Also, still getting motion sickness because of the driver's creep stop when they need to be stopped, period. And last, overhead signs down at MCC that display the information on the buses, times, etc. Okay, too many times that I look up, there's nothing on them. And when I report them, they say, well, it's a glitch. Well, why is always I keep getting the glitches? Can we get these fixed so that when we look up there, we don't have to run around asking where's the bus or what's up with the bus? Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. I do not have any other public comment forms. Is there anyone else who wants to make the come on up. I know, I usually have yours, but I must have, it must have run away or something.
Good morning.
But welcome.
On the 24th this month, I noticed that access ride bus number 351, the passenger side headlight was out.
Before you keep going, it's James Thomas, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just want to make sure. I was pretty certain.
On the 9/4 of the month, bus number 650, the marquees were not working. On 9/4 as well, the 52B 837 from the jailhouse came off of Tampa Drive as I was, that's 8:37 p.m. As I was walking in the crosswalk. Ever since my bus accident and our injury passes to 2007, I'm very leery about vehicles going past the white line, which is before the pedestrian crosswalk. I was walking across the street, I had the crosswalk light, but the bus is pulling out on the hard and preparing to turn as I'm walking across the street. Last I checked, DMV law says that you're to stay behind the white line until you're able to proceed in the direction you're going. That gives me a little skittish when I see vehicles pulling out. I have a, what's called vehicle, fear in a way, kind of being hit on my bicycle. On the 14th, I saw those are 5 marquees downstairs are not working. On the 14th at 1:15 from the station downtown, number 19, Harmon Street was the bus was a no-show. Got downtown time to catch that bus to go to my doctor's appointment and go up catching the Judge Street bus would get me a little closer, a little far away back home. On the 14th, bus number 1814, 52B, left from the MCC at 3:40. There's a black man halfway back on the bus on the driver's side that's drinking alcohol on the bus. I know he opened the bottle to his, I guess, bag or whatever. On the 19th, bus number 871, 708 departure from the jailhouse, which was at 7:08 in the morning. The driver told me I would have to hold my car because this is busy run instead of being on the lifted little seat and put my car in the handicap area, which my car takes about half the handicap area. And to me, it's like telling a person with a wheelchair that you're not able to take him because you're busy when you need all your seats for some people sitting down. And while I was downtown today, I noticed that, hey, the marquees are not working. That's it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Thomas. Any other public comments before I close the public comments? Thank you all for being here. Again, your comments do help us be a better system, and we do appreciate the comments that you share with us. All right, Mr. Searcy.
All right.
Operations and Finance Committee report.
All right. Well, we certainly have a recommendation from the CFO regarding the contract renewal for the RTA services. And the committee, that is Hannah and I, recommend that the board take an action, affirmative action, on that recommendation.
That being a recommendation of the committee, is there any further comments, any further discussion? So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'd also ask if, for the record, this had a lot of detail as it relates to studies and the differences in the pricing, and a lot of thought in there. If we could include this with the minutes, the action item, so it reflects.
Without objection, so ordered.
All right, so, and next?
Similarly, we have the management contract renewal for RTA and MTA, and it's recommended by staff that we approve this thing at a price certain. I believe it's $68,960 a month. The new contract price shall be effective retroactive July 1 and terminate July 30, 2021. We are passing that along to the board for its affirmative acceptance of the recommendation.
Just one amendment to that, terminate June 30th. 2020.
What did I say?
He said July.
Yes, June 30th. Thank you. Thank you.
That being a recommendation of the committee not requiring a second, are there any further comments or conversation to this one? With this one as well, I like that we included, I just want to say I've sort of been around a good while watching this agreement come back and forth, and I really like that you articulated all these duties that come out, because so often we don't know what all goes into, and nor does the public necessarily always know what goes into you all managing the road. And I think that this is just such a great picture of the amazing and phenomenal work you do. And I like this contract too, because when we talk about regional transit, this is an example of it, and it really outlines the great work that's being done. And then everybody can sort of see it. And so it's not this little mystery kind of thing that you all do, or you all have two heads or something like that, but it really is an articulated list of work and the detail of what you do. So I appreciate whoever sort of pulled this whole piece out here. I think it was under your direction. They did a great job. So thank you very much. So with that being said, that this be added to the minutes. So anything further? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Well done.
Okay.
Mr. Cersei,
We have the resolution for fiscal year 2019, the annual grant applications. Staff is requesting that we approve their authority to file applications for 5307, 5339, and 5310 funding, state and local match. The committee, in their deliberations, accepts this and now asks that the board in its entirety affirmatively respond.
so with this one, we'll be adopting a tax resolution, which too will go into the minutes. For all those different grants, this is great. Anything further from anyone else? And it is the recommendation of the committee, therefore we do require a second. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Well done.
Then we had the Trapeze Group sole source support, warranty, and maintenance request. And after some clarifications and further discussion, the committee adopts the recommendation of staff and now requests that the entire board act affirmatively on that request, approving an additional $700,000 for future enhancements, $730,000 for current responses, for future enhancements, for a total of $1.43 million.
And those dollars are coming from, again, our operating budget as well as our capital plan that we agreed to.
Right, the money is there. So
Software maintenance from operations, and then future new modules and upgrades out of capital.
okay.
And that is the recommendation of the committee?
It is the recommendation.
Is there any further conversation? Any comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And I think
That's all for
Thanks
operations
you,
and
Mr.
finance.
Cersei.
Thank you.
Ms. Miller.
Okay, we're going to be short and sweet. As everyone will recall, back in June, we adopted a FY 2019 operating budget, but it had some contingency in it that was related to receiving CMAQ grants, CMAQ and JARC grants. And we had a hunch at that time that those grants may not come through, but we actually received word that those we were going to see a decrease in those two revenue sources to the tune of $1,847,570. There's also an offset from all of the kind of strategic work we've done around advertising and the board's direction to keep the new WeGo buses advertising free for now and to move away from the full wraps, which we feel like are a safety and a appearance issue, a brand issue for the organization. And so the staff has come back saying that that will be a negative impact to the budget of $208,045 for the year. So that's the bad news. We've got those decreases. The good news is we have amazing staff who understand a complex patchwork quilt of grants that this organization receives. And what they figured out is that there's a federal operating reimbursement based on an estimate of preventative maintenance and paratransit operating expenses that are eligible for reimbursement of maintenance. So essentially that grant can be utilized on a one-time basis. So this isn't a 10-year fix, this is a one-year fix. But fortunately that can totally offset those budget reductions. So the great news is there is a zero impact to the budget and we'll be able to continue to provide the service from before. We're just kind of moving money around a little bit. So everybody seemed very happy with that, and so the committee would like to recommend that the board adopt this amended annual budget with those two revenue changes and then the additional federal reimbursement in place for a zero balance net situation. So that is our recommendation to the board today.
Well, very good.
Thank you.
Very well.
I thought that through a little bit.
Between you and Ed, I feel so comfortable with this. So that is the recommendation of the committee. Any further conversation? Any further comments? No further discussion. That is a recommendation of the committee, though not requiring a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, that is the end of the NICE committee for this month.
Great. I have just a very short report, and first and foremost, I want to thank Steve and all of your staff for hosting an amazing after convention. And I was down there a little bit here and there, and you could just see that people were enjoying it and people felt comfortable. And I know a lot of that was a result of how welcoming and wonderful and how you lended yourself as well as others to make certain it works. And you did a great welcome, you and the mayor, and I hope they spent money like he asked them.
From what I saw on Broadway Saturday, Sunday, Monday night, I would say that was not a problem.
I'm pretty certain they did, but thank you all again. I mean, way to represent us on this national stage, and it sounds sort of small when we sort of talk about it in this small little space, but I know that that was a big thing, and I know that was a big national thing. And those of you who served on panels to be, leaders in this field and to represent WeGo Transit that way and to represent Nashville that way. I truly, first as a citizen, am grateful, as a board member, I'm going to put a time thrilled. So thank you all.
And great national coverage in these locations. I love our purple buses on the cover.
I know.
That's big time.
Yeah, all about the purple, no matter what. Even it doesn't match with the green. It's okay because it's WeGo, right? We go whatever way we want to go because we go. And so purple and green don't really match, but I'm all about it, right? And I'm just so proud of all of you. So thank you very much. I had the opportunity to be in a meeting with Julie, Felix, and Jason at Vanderbilt, and they too came over to lend their expertise to sort of improve and think about what mobility looks like in the Vanderbilt area, and they were exemplar again, just leaders in the whole transit bill, and I really appreciate all of you being there. And Billy Higgins, what can I say about you? You're nothing but a rock star. I mean, your work with grants too is another national model, which you've been able to do because we were in a grant process that was a very competitive competitive process, and it was a national competitive process, and we came out on top. We came out even beyond what we thought that we could, and it's really through your great work and your committed work and your expertise in what you do. You know, one of our action items we passed today, again, was a result of the good work you do. Now, you can hide behind Melissa, but I saw that smile of joy, and the other day when the MTA was here and they announced this amazing grant, and again, it was just it's been a really pride week for us here at WeGo Transit, so thank you, Billy, and I know I'm embarrassing you, but go with it today.
She's easily.
I know, but well done, and we're very proud of you, and thank you very much for your commitment to WeGo Transit. Next, I have a note to read to us. So it's thank you so much. With sincerest thanks for your kindness and thoughtfulness. Gail, Janet, Walter, Glenn, and Hannah, thank you for my Michael's gift card. How very thoughtful and kind of you. I will put it to use to further pursue my love of painting. It has been my honor and pleasure to have served you. Best wishes always, Kathy Owen. We miss Kathy, but wish her well, and I think we sent her off in grand style, and it was fun to watch her too smile and be embarrassed publicly. So, you know, that's what we do here.
That's what we do.
When you rock that way. And that, again, concludes my report. But again, it's been, you know, every week's a good week at WeGo, but this week has been a particular proud week. So thank you all very much.
Great.
My turn?
Your turn? I always forget to turn you, but I just assume when I get done, you know, you're going to pick it up and go.
Don't want to jump in where I'm not wanted.
Oh, you're always wanted. Our wonderful director.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Just a few things to report to you today. First of all, speaking of putting together grant applications and funding recommendations, at TDOT's request, we're putting together a request for supplemental funding from them to help us mitigate the impacts of the I-440 construction when that project starts. We do expect in that part of the city that we will see more congestion than we're used to, which will make it more of a challenge to run service on time. So we'll be asking for probably about $500,000 in funding to put in supplemental bus service to try to keep us at on time.
What's the timeline for that?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I have to take it to merit for Julie. Do you know what the project schedule is?
I believe it begins in January 2019 and goes for a couple of years.
Forever. Is it all of 440?
Yeah, this is all of
Yeah, they're
440.
reconstructing, expanding 440. Earlier phases, they had contemplated shutting the entire roadway. They pulled away from that, so it will remain open with lane restrictions during the course of the
Be a mess.
So yes.
Ridership probably be up.
Yeah, the challenge is, originally we were talking about, well, how can we put people on transit? But the challenge is, I mean, we're going to be in it with everybody else. You know, if we had things like bus on shoulder or what have you, we might have a shot. But in any case, we appreciate the department working with us on that. I think a really exciting project, and one that we're going to be anxious to share with you when it's complete. We have our staff and our consulting staff working to advance a transit design guideline document. We're developing along Public Works, Walk Bike Nashville, some of the other stakeholders in transportation. And we'll be able to share it with folks like developers, traffic engineers, other government agencies on how best to design projects to incorporate transit into their design. As you know, too often, and you see it around the city, we've got developments, and then after the fact, as they bring in transit, we end up with, you know, not the ideal place for bus stops or places where we really can't put in shelter infrastructure or it's disconnected. So hopefully this starts to move the bar in that regard. We've kicked off our Metro Employees Coordinated Giving Campaign for 2018. Marnie Botha from our training department, Roosevelt Cobbs from our maintenance department are co-chairing the group. Metro had their official kickoff a couple weeks ago, and now WeGo Transit, although the plaque says MTA, was recognized as one of the top departmental fundraisers last year. It's been mentioned before, but I will. I think it's worth mentioning again. We host earlier this week the American Public Transportation Association annual meeting and conference. The final tally was about 2,500 transit professionals from around the world, literally, mostly U.S., North America, but literally around the world, including my counterparts, board members from all over the country, suppliers, transit staff, consultants, you name it, that descended on Nashville. And to echo Gail's comments, every piece of feedback I got was positive, despite the fact that it pretty much rained for the entire event.
Sure.
But people have plenty to do. I was pleasantly surprised. I think we all know, with the excellence of the convention facilities here between Music City Center and the hotel surrounding it, it'd be very easy to come into this town and never leave about a 4-block radius. But I think folks who staff the host booth can attest. We had people riding our system all over the place, going to the Opry, going out to Green Hills to shop, going to places like Marathon Village. So they really were exploring the city and had nothing but positive things to say about the city. And frankly, for many of them, they've never been to Nashville before, didn't know what to expect. And echoing what Gail said, we had a number of our staff do some presentations at panels, committee meetings, what have you. I also want to publicly thank Ralph Schultz from the Nashville Chamber. The APTA had approached me about sitting on a panel having to do a transit referendum. And I said, I could do it, but I'm sure we can find somebody who has more inside information. And feedback I got, Ralph was both, as you would expect, professional and honest about what occurred in Nashville. And a lot of the discussion that I heard from association leadership, private sector partners was what happened largely on the opponent side of Nashville. They're seeing all over the country, and the association wants to sort of mobilize to be able to counter those efforts. And in fact, in his welcoming remarks, Mayor Briley said we're going to need all the help we can get to try to counter some of the negative messaging around these issues. So I think the mayor has certainly had an impact in that regard, and Ralph did as well. Also, during the course of that conference yesterday, I attended a half-day workshop that the FTA did on new safety management systems requirements for buses. We briefly touched on our asset management requirements. We'll be giving you a briefing on those next month. By July 20th, 2020, we have to come into compliance with a brand new and expanded set of safety management guidelines. So it'll be a significant effort, but I'm sure one that we're up for. Of course, as has been mentioned, the highlight of the conference was Acting Administrator of Federal Transit Administration, Jane Williams, announcing about a $9 million grant. And also, not to be overshadowed, totally shocking from TDOT announcing they're going to provide $4.5 million to match that grant. So it's easy to kind of forget about the part that TDOT had to say in the wake of what FTA had. But overall, certainly very bright news for us. It was out of 107 projects. First of all, it's a very competitive program. They had $366 million available to distribute. They had $2 billion in requests. They funded 107 total projects, and out of the 107, ours was the 10th highest award in the country. We are currently awaiting to see what the city will do with the capital spending plan for the upcoming year. Every year, the capital spending plan tells us what we'll get to fund capital projects. And it's been somewhat delayed in Metro's budget process this year. In the approved capital improvement plan, which was adopted by council back in June, we have requested our normal matches to state and federal grant programs at about $4.5 million. Replacement of access ride vehicles at about $1.9 million. We had requested $16 million toward the replacement of fixed route buses with these awards by FTA and TDOT. That takes that ask down to just over $1.5 million. And we also requested $10 million toward the development of neighborhood transit centers. Obviously, the match for the buses is crucial for us to be able to access those federal and state dollars that were just announced. But equally important, our operating budget really relies on being able to use those preventive maintenance dollars. So if you all have the opportunity to chat with Metro Finance folks or the mayor, just kind of put that bug in the ear, as I have, that, transit centers, if we're not awarded any money on those, we defer those activities. But the other elements are pretty crucial. I'm currently participating in strategic planning processes for the Airport Authority and the Convention and Visitors Corporation. Both have frankly recognized the importance of mass transit in their future, so we're pleased to participate in that. MCC renovations or central renovations are going on schedule. We'll be fully back in the building in November, hopefully a little bit earlier, and you'll start getting new paint and carpeting in the board meeting room. India mentioned in her report to the Operations and Finance Committee that we have all 31 of our new transit buses in service. We have started receiving delivery of the 19 Access Ride vans, so they're being prepared and accepted for service, and you can expect to start seeing them in the new paint scheme on the street, in the next few weeks and months. This past week, we announced a partnership with Lyft for a Ditch Your Car promotion. So I would encourage anyone to ditchwithlyft.com and register. 50 Nashvillians will win $300 in Lyft credits, a monthly bus pass from WeGo, and a $100 gift certificate to the Shelby Avenue Bicycle Company, as well as free enrollment in a Walk Bike Nashville bike riding class. So the idea is, can you try to give up your car for a month using alternative transportation like bicycling, rideshare, and mass transit? Every month I try to keep you up to date on RTA items. We had a very well-attended celebration this month for the ribbon cutting of our Hamilton Springs station, 7th station on the Music City Star line. And if you go to the station, I would encourage you to do that if you're ever in the Lebanon community. There's literally hundreds of millions of dollars of development going on around there with multifamily housing, over 55 communities. And we received quite a bit of private sector contribution, both in terms of land donation and toward the construction of that station. We're working with the Metropolitan Planning Organization on the South Border study, looking at options in the Murray-Williamson and Davidson County corridor. We're in the design phase for an expansion of the Mount Juliet Park and Ride lot, and beginning tonight, we're starting public meetings in Donaldson, Mount Juliet, and Lebanon for service changes to the Music City Star that include the elimination of our Friday night train in order to come into compliance with positive train control regulations. Then finally, I want to introduce Alex Merriweather. Alex, raise your hand. Alex is a new employee we have in our HR department, so he will be one of our front faces to our employees and other members of the community for WeGo Public Transit. And we're delighted to have him working with Kent Minnick and Rita and their team on improving our overall human resources. Madam Chair, unless there are any questions, that's my report.
Does anyone have any questions?
That $4.5 million was on top of the 9, or?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, so the overall project will be about 14 million.
Yeah, 15 million, yeah. Got it.
And it was a great moment to see both federal and state supporting WeGo Transit at the press conference. Well, I have nothing further. Does anyone else have anything further? With that being said, then we are adjourned.